Rasp dreamed of being the most famous squirrel in the park. She wanted to be the fastest, highest jumping, most fearless squirrel of them all. Rasp was called Raspberry because of the raspberry-shaped tuft of red fur on the top of her head. She spent her days playing in the children's play area of the park with her chubby grey friend, Bit. As soon as the children had gone, they scampered all over the climbing frame, slid down the slide and dropped into the waste bins looking for sweet wrappers to lick. Sometimes there were leftover chips and, if they were really lucky, dropped ice cream to lick, Rasp's favourite. Once they'd enjoyed their snack, Rasp shouted, "Race to the top!" and all the squirrels chased up the giant oak in one corner of the play area. The first to the top would be the best scamperer, and often it was her. "I am the winner! I am the best!" The other squirrels came close, but she nearly always won. They would take turns trying to see who could scurry over the cafe roof and jump the furthest onto the grass. Rasp was not the best jumper. Big Grey was the best at that, but she kept trying and trying. "I will be the best ever." "Stop jumping so far, Rasp. You're going to hurt yourself." Bit would watch, holding the last bits of the chips and sweets they found. One day, Rasp and Bit found a workman building a new area over by the basketball courts. They spread some sticky tar on the footpath and fenced it off, leaving for the day. The squirrels were a curious bunch, and soon a whole gang were examining the taped-off area and sticky floor. Big Grey ran up to the edge of the sticky path and pretended to tap a paw onto it. "You won't do it," shrieked Rasp, scaredy squirrel. The Big Grey turned around and glared at her, and tapped a paw quickly on the sticky. The other squirrels gasped. "He's so brave." "What? That's not brave. Watch this." Rasp jumped down from the railing and ran towards the path. "Don't do it, Rasp," shouted Bit. "It's too sticky." But Bit was too late. Rasp dashed across the sticky tar and started running up the nearest tree. "Ah, easy!" But suddenly she stopped on a branch. The sticky black tar on her feet had stuck fast. As the rest of the squirrels, especially the Big Grey, started to howl with laughter, Bit clambered up the tree and tried to pull Rasp free. It was no good. She was going nowhere. "Shut up and help," called Rasp. The squirrels climbed up and pulled as hard as they could. "Oh, stop it, you're ripping my fur," screamed Rasp. She slumped down as they gave up. Bit dashed to the bin to look for something to try and loosen her paws. They tried using a lolly stick as a lever. It just gave her a splinter. They tried some lemonade to loosen the sticky. It just made her stickier and surrounded by flies. Finally, as the sun set, Bit fetched an abandoned woolly hat and plonked it over Rasp to keep her warm and hide her for the night. "Don't leave me, Bit," she cried. "Rasp, there's no room for two in that hat. I'll have to go back to my den, and I'll come back as soon as it's light in the morning." Rasp started to cry. "How can I be the fastest and the highest jumper if I'm stuck here?" It started to rain. "This is hopeless. If only I'd listened to Bit." Gradually, the rain started to seep through the hat, and a big drop splattered on her raspberry tuft of hair. "That's it!" She frantically gnawed at the wood around one paw. It came free, but she had a rectangle of sticky tar and bark stuck over her claws. She waggled the free paw. The bark wasn't moving. Another big drop splattered on her ear. She gnawed at the wood round the other paws until she got to the last one, her right foot that was stuck to the tree. It came free, and she slid down the branch, scrabbling frantically, but her claws were stuck in the bark. She couldn't grip on. She fell out the tree, landing on the soggy hat with a squelch. She jumped up and splattered back to the floor, unable to get a grip. "Come on," she shrieked, scrabbling her arms and legs to the nearest bush to hide out until the morning. At first light, Bit came to look for her. "Look at me, Bit," she said, waving her planky paws. "I've no grip. What kind of squirrel can't climb a tree?" As she patted over the playground, the other squirrels started to appear. Big Grey came over with a big grin. "Race to the top," he yelled, and they sprinted off. She slumped to the floor. "Let's go and find the hedgehog. She'll know what to do. She's always getting stuck to things," said Bit, patting Rasp gently on the arm. Even Rasp couldn't help but giggle at the pit-pat, slip-slap of her bark paws as she slowly headed for the hedgerow lining the park. They found Hedgerina near the fence, curled up, still napping. "Oh, hello, kits. How can I help you?" She squinted down her long snout at them. Rasp explained the situation and showed Hedgerina her planked feet. "Ah, I see. Have you tried water?" They nodded. "Lemonade." "Banging the wood to get it off?" "No, we haven't tried that." "What do you mean?" "Well, I once got covered in a whole lot of caked-on mud. and it was a hot day straight after, and it dried all tight and knitted in. I looked like a hedgehog-shaped poop. Well, I went to the decking planks by the cafe and bashed around on them, and eventually the mud crumbled off. Why don't you try it? Worth a try, Rasp, shrugged Bit. They headed over to the decking, and Rasp tentatively stepped on. It was difficult to balance, and she was slipping and started to move her feet quickly to get stable. It made a really loud and clear tapping sound. Tap, tap, tap. That reminds me of a song. Bit started to hum, and Rasp turned her fierce tapping into a dance. Before too long they had an audience. The other squirrels came over to watch, their heads nodding along to the tapped-out tune. Rasp turned and saw the crowd and came to a stop. They started to clap and cheer. That was great. Great moves, Rasp. Keep singing, Bit. We want more. Bit started to whistle another tune. Rasp grinned and started her dance again, tip-tapping away, twizzling and kicking, stamping and stomping along with Bit's tune. Soon the birds flew down to see what was happening, and the other animals, Hedgerina included, came out of the undergrowth and joined the audience. The bark didn't come off Rasp's feet, but she got a standing ovation from the crowd. They loved her tap dancing and gave them sweets and chips to keep performing. From that day, Rasp and Bit performed together for the animals in the park most days. Rasp started to enjoy having something different about her. Hedgerina made them a costume with a top hat from some shiny paper, which she used in her tap dance as she span and kicked. She was the most famous squirrel in the park after all. She'd achieved her dream. Rasp is a story by nnac. I hope you enjoyed listening. Please feel free to subscribe. Thanks!